But I know the third one that you want to bring in, Thomas, that will also help with both first and second. So please go ahead.
Yeah, I think this is a very important one when I talk to my clients, when I talk to my own self, and realize that am I doing it because I resonate with it, or am I doing it because again, kind of mixture of all of the others that we've talked about? Is it something that I've seen someone else doing it and that's why I'm doing it, or is it something? And I think ACT again talks about a value-based
Mm-hmm.
living rather than a goal-based living. So we talk about moving towards or moving away.
Mm-hmm.
Now, my goal is like it's a rigid goal that I want to jog for 1 hour every day, and that's the only way I'll be fit. But if I see that thought might actually move me away from my values, because that thought kind of stops me from doing anything else for my health,
Mm-hmm.
because that thought then says that, oh, if you do not do this, then I don't think you're taking care of your health. Again, that all or none thinking
All
kind of
or
creeps up.
none.
Mention.
Thomas, I'm going to pause you. If you could just
Hmm.
elaborate for the listeners and viewers, what is the difference between goals and values?
Yeah, there is obviously a video by Russ Harris which kind of explains it clearly. So maybe we'll put that as a link
Yeah, sure.
to this. But in ACT, we call it like it's a compass of life, right? It gives you direction,
Mm.
like oh, this is where I want to go. This is the direction I want to go in right now. Now I don't have a goal where,
Mm-hmm.
let's say, if my goal is, again, let's take the example of health, right? If my goal is to jog, if I don't jog, it can lead to a lot of distress. Like I don't think, and it leads to all of these other thoughts coming, like, oh, you know what, you're not good enough. I don't think you can do anything. I don't think you are someone who can actually keep up with whatever you. I don't
Yeah.
think you are uh, good. You don't stick to your words anyway. Yeah, anyway,
It
this was
can
going to
also
happen.
lead to mood dependent behavior because you feel
Yeah,
so demotivated as a result that you don't want to do it anymore.
exactly. And I mean, it's going to affect other areas of your life as well. I mean, your functionality in other areas will also be affected. Now, what happens with this is, so let's say I do jog, let's say 1 hour or half an hour, or let's say I jog just for 20 minutes. Now, if I'm living a value-led life rather than a goal based on a goal, I would still be satisfied because my value, I move towards my value. But if I was very
Being
goal,
fit
yeah, like of being healthy or of,
of,
taking
yeah,
care of
whatever
myself or
your
whatever.
value is. Yeah.
Exactly. Same with the course example, right? So if I let's say stop after the 5 hours of doing a course, my goal would be that, oh, I finished the course and only it makes sense. But in
Yeah.
those 5 hours also I gained something, and that is kind of negated, and there's that negative bias which is
Absolutely.
there, right? But if I would just look at curiosity, I would maybe go back to that course, maybe 1 month from now, because course has an option, and I go
Yeah.
back and remember, oh wow, there was such a beautiful part that I learned. Can I just continue from there? And that is what value versus goals helps in, because goals kind of stop
True.
us from going back to it, but values remind us that this is why you were there, this is why you were jogging, this is why you're getting up in the morning, this is why you were eating healthy food.
Absolutely. Which is I'd say the masala in the dip. The thing is I would always value is not going anywhere. So even if you
Exactly.
missed a day of workout, you would know that anyway, this is how I want to live. So what else can I do? So we always generally clients also come in and ask that how can I remove the focus from the past, the guilt and all, and put it into the future. Value-based
Hmm.
living is a very, very effective way of doing that because it makes you think, okay, what next can I do to move towards this value?
Yeah, and it's also a reminder that I don't have to, like, again, going back to the social media example, that it's a reminder that just because other people do this for their health does not mean I have to do the same thing. Like,
Absolutely not.
if I'm
In
looking
fact,
at
go ahead.
if I'm looking at curiosity, right? If I'm looking at learning, there are the people who are getting certificates on LinkedIn from Coursera. That does not mean that's the only
LinkedIn is
way.
for professional anxiety now.
Yeah, that does
Yeah,
not mean
I
that's the
agree.
only way I can, you
It's
know,
not the only way for sure. And it also helps with the more dependent part because why? When you reflect and be mindful of what your value is, you will know
hmm,
the action that you're about to take. Will it move you towards that or will it move you away from that just because
exactly.
you're feeling something in the moment?
Yeah, and it's very, it's like an oxymoron sometimes, where the goal is, it looks like it's the healthiest goal, but it
Yeah.
kind of takes away from your healthy goals. I mean, healthy values
Yeah. But
that
it
you
can
have.
also be balanced, right? When we make value-based goals, we might
Yeah.
stick to them more.
Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. But hey, that's actually. one thing that has helped me, and again, the people around me, my clients, a lot of times, is value-based living, for which
Hmm.
the first step is for sure to understand what your values are. We've
Yeah.
never been asked this question. What are your values? Thomas, have you ever been asked what are your values? I mostly hear people say, okay, so what are your goals for the next 5 years? The language
Yeah.
bit that we talk about.
Yeah. I think value-based question, like, what are your values? I don't think it has come up. Like, I don't think anyone asked. But on the other hand, goal-based questions are very common because, again, they goals usually come from multiple other people and not just from our own
Mhm.
selves. Like, there
And
are,
also from very big companies, multi-billion dollar companies who want to sell
yeah,
you things.
yeah. Like, I mean, what this is the size that is best for you. This is the kind of food that's best for you. This is the taste that you need to have.
Yeah.
Um, this is the course that you need to study right now. Oh, you have done your bachelor's only. I think you need to do the certificate program to, do your best. Then only you will be able to, get in the job market. Once you're in the job market, oh, you don't have this car yet, or you don't have a house with these many
A
amenities
lot
yet.
of things that say, hey, you're not good enough, and this is what you need to work. And those are very short-term goals. We forget the aspect
Hmm.
of in another course we understood. I don't want to get into jargons, but I just want to say this aspect of hedonic adaptation that takes place, that you
Yeah.
just get, no matter how happy something is making you today, you will get
Hmm.
bored of it because there is hedonic adaptation that is taking place.
Yeah, and that's what Russ Harris, again, an act therapist, talks about, the happiness trap that we have.
Uh-huh.
That, I'll be happy when dash, and you put anything there. I'll be happy when I
Mhm.
get a new job. I'll be happy when I get a car. I'll be happy when I get a house. And obviously, you're not happy when you get that. You might be happy for
No,
short term, but then that
no.
fades away, and then you are like, okay, what is the next goal that I can have?
True,
And
true. So
yeah.
what I'm hearing from you, Thomas, is very essential point that's repeated in all three aspects is this misconception that we've been fed or we've been told, like a dangling carrot in front of you, that happiness you can achieve. Like there's an end destination to it, that this
Yeah.
is when you'll feel happy. But life
Yeah.
is way, way, way away from it. There will be things, there will be ups, there will be downs, which is a big accepting that, understanding the impact of it on you emotionally is a big
Hmm.
part of making habits stick.
Yeah, and that's a reminder of what we started off with, right? By reminder that you're a human, like, and human beings, I don't
Yes.
think there's any human being who has been like happy forever.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, that's
Oh,
what we have been hearing since childhood, the fairy tales, happy endings, and all of those things. But it's not how it ends. Like, it's not like,
yeah.
after that they lived happily ever after. It's
It's
that's why it's called a
not
fairy tale, I
real.
think.
It's not a fairy tale at all. It's definitely
Yeah.
not. What comes to my mind, and which is also the fourth aspect, is
Mm,
that of comparison. We have touched it a lot of times, but I feel in today's world, comparison is inevitable. With so
mm,
much of focus on showing or curating a specific way of your life, it's literally impossible to not compare, I feel. And I recently made a video on it, like a short video on it. Maybe I'll
mm,
link it here, wherever on the screen, where I spoke about why we compare, just touching very briefly on this, even from an evolutionary perspective, when we talk about the
mm.
survival of the fittest, that is our
Yeah.
reptilian brain. And of course, when we look at the person who is the fittest or better than us, it gives us some information about, okay, this is what I need to do. From
Yeah.
there, to at least being in a generation, we have abundant resources and therefore more pressure of doing something miraculously well, like coming up for the cure
Yeah.
for cancer and all of that, which takes place. Comparison is here to stay. It's
Yeah.
definitely here to stay. But what I didn't focus a lot in that video is just talking about how to deal with comparisons. Yeah.
Mm.
In that video also I focused on how much containing, it's accepting first of all that comparison is okay, even if you're a
Yeah.
noble person to say you can compare yourself and feel bad,
Mm.
that is okay. But what do you think are some ways that you would recommend people can start working with this sense of comparison in a world which is heavily relied on that?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we talked about the whole capitalistic culture, right? That's also comparison. Like, oh, we have it, you don't have it. This is the best in the world, and you still don't have it. I think you should have it because look at um, this person who looks like you. They have it. Do you have it yet? Kind of a thing. Um, One of the things that has helped me, I was just thinking about it because I was talking to someone about it. Why do I not get irritated by people on Instagram? Is because I don't think I watch Instagram. I use Instagram that much.
Uh-huh.
But I mean that's one thing that has worked for me is kind of staying away from the source of these comparisons
Mm-hmm.
sometimes because it is available readily available everywhere. It's in your newspaper, it's in your social media, it's on your TV, it's everywhere. Like it's on your Netflix and all of those things. You're comparing every time. I mean, when you're listening to this
All the
podcast, you might be
time.
comparing with us, with your
Oh
own
yeah.
selves, with your
How is Thomas speaking? How is Soumya speaking? How are they looking? What all they know? What all have they studied?
yeah.
What all they do? Very subtle level.
Yeah, yeah. And it's first of all becoming aware that, okay, maybe I can be mindful again of the content that I consume.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Very
it's not
important.
just the food that I'm eating, it's also because especially right now, since we have the availability of content, we have
Yeah.
Netflix, we have YouTube, we have Spotify, we
I
have
agree. I agree, Thomas. And what comes to my mind, there is this Sanskrit, I don't know, it's a
Shlok.
statement or shlok. I don't know exactly.
Okay.
But what it says, it's basically Ayurveda, which says, Jaisa an, Vaisa man. What it says is,
How
however
what
the
you eat.
food is, yeah, will reflect in your mind.
Mm,
And we don't just eat from our mouth. We eat through
yeah.
all our senses right now. When you're listening to this video, you're eating through your eyes, through your ears,
Mm,
both right.
yeah.
So it is reflective of that. But
Yeah.
even before, not before, okay, once you become mindful that you are comparing, we also have a
Mm,
tendency to generalize, talking about language that, oh my God, I compare so much, which
ye-
implies that you are always comparing yourself to others.
mm,
But as a psychologist, as a practicing psychologist, I can tell you, often when you probe into the themes which you're comparing yourself in, you will find
mm.
that there are some areas where you are less susceptible to comparison. Like you can let
Yeah.
it go. There are areas where you are mildly susceptible, and there are areas where
Mm,
you are intensely susceptible. So
yeah.
you need to recognize what are those insecure or
Mm,
sensitive areas of your life, just to again be a little compassionate that you're not someone who's constantly comparing. It will also
yeah.
give you information about the areas you need to work on.
Exactly, exactly. Because I can remember, like, I mean, I'm grateful for the therapy work that I do because I get to see myself also working when I see my clients working on their own selves. Because
Mhm.
I remember, like, this was the initial few, years when I was practicing, and a client would come and say, I want to do this, I want to do this also, I want to do this also, I want to do this also. And it's like, don't you? I mean, it seems like, there's a machine which wants to do all the tasks together, and as a human being, I think it's difficult because you are basically saying that, this person does this, I want to do that. This person does this, I want to do that. This person does this, and you want to do all the things. So you are trying to be five people at the same time. And
True.
I remember that I was that person also. Like, I wanted to be a good researcher. I wanted to be a good therapist. I wanted to be a good teacher. I wanted to be a good singer. I wanted to be all of these things. And
Mhm.
comparing again, right? Like, this person does research so well. I want to be good like them. This
I
person,
agree.
does
I
therapy so
relate.
well. And then when I'm talking to my client is when I realize that I'm also doing that, where I am,
Mhm.
trying to be five people at the same time. And even if it's a machine, it will break down. So even, it's not just that, my machine will be able to do it, and machine will
Yeah.
also break down.
Yeah, so when you were talking about the machinery and how far you want to take it, there
Mm.
again, I forgot the name of the movie, which is that racing movie. What is it called?
Mad Max.
No, Le Mans one.
Oh, Le Mans. Yeah.
Oh, the
Ford, Ford,
movie
Ford versus Ferrari.
Ford versus Ferrari.
Yeah.
Yes. So within that, Christian Bale, this he has a very beautiful dialogue on this, where he says that if you're gonna push a piece of machinery to the limit and expect it to hold it together, you have to have some sense of where that limit is.
Yeah.
Even with the machinery,
Exactly.
even with the machinery who's supposed to do that,
Hmm.
we are humans at the end of the day.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think that is one of the things that we try to do in our work that we do with our own selves. We're trying to remind ourselves that, I am not a machine, first of all, but even if I were a machine, I would break down, and maybe I need to take that break sometime. So again, even if it's a habit that I'm trying to, form, or if it's a new Year resolution that I've taken, I first of all need to see that, have I compared with someone and have I made this resolution, or is it something that I want to do? Again, is it a value-led thing, or is it, something that, and okay, maybe, I was not able to do it. Does that mean I cannot take care of my health at all? Or
Yeah.
so it's like a mixture of all of the four things that you've talked
Mixture of
about.
all the four things. That is why we said in the starting all four things. I think that for one, the other three are the antidote. For the other three are the antidote. But one
Yeah.
thing that I really want to add at this point is when we talk about comparison and the areas that you're really feeling sensitive about some specific themes, there is a distinction that our mind makes, that this is inferior, this is superior, this is
Hmm.
good, this is bad. And again, that relates to the all or none again, that
Hmm.
black and white sort of a thinking, that to be beautiful, I have to do this, exercise this much. I don't know, when we talk about habits, why do we keep going back to physical?
Exercise.
It's like our mind goes blank with the examples outside of going to the gym.
Yeah. Um,
Oh, well, wonderful. Is there anything else, any other wisdom that you'd like to add to this, Thomas, as we're also wrapping up our four workable, actionable points to make habits stick?
um, we're not trying to solve anything. We're not trying to fix anything. We're just trying to realize that how we are human beings. And when you're human beings, you're going to have problems. You're going to have suffering or whatever. I think they say pain and not suffering, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
But these are part. So what you call pleasant and unpleasant feelings, they're going to be a part of your life. When you try to fix the unpleasant feelings, sometimes, that's where the problem. So they say, I don't remember if it was ACT or some other place where I heard this, but sometimes the problem is not the problem. The problem is when you try to fix the problem.
Exactly.
Um,
Exactly.
because the problem will go away in some time, but when we try to fix it, we spend more time. So there is this um, imagery that they talk about. I think in some wildlife photography or something, it came up where there's an image of a bison in the storm, and that is like very powerful imagery which is there. I mean, it looks so majestic, okay. But the story behind it is basically how when there's a storm, a cold, a snowstorm coming, a bison is someone who, like, if the storm is going this side, the bison would go the opposite direction and they would face the storm,
Towards the storm.
yeah, head first, kind of. But a cow, on the other hand, kind of goes the opposite way. Like, now, if you see, the cow is spending more time with the storm, and bison is, just gets done with it. And when you hit it head on, right, and when you are seeing that, okay, this is what the reality is, and I see that how this is, you're able to, because it will anyway, the storm will go away. It won't stay. I
Yeah,
haven't heard
true.
of any storm which has like stayed in that place for a, forever kind of a thing. It
Yeah,
does go
and
away.
yeah, and that in itself is what we talk about when we say containing and regulating, because
Yeah.
storms can cause a lot of destruction also,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
we're not prepared for it, because we don't have the infrastructure for it, right?
Yeah. So I think the four things that we've talked about are kind of some things that help us remember that, a storm is going to come. But am I aware that, this all or none thinking is not something helpful? But when I'm aware that there's this all or none thinking coming up, I can realize that, okay, maybe I can, just see that this is something that's happening and let the storm pass by,
Yeah.
and I can, work on my
True.
thoughts that,
It's a
or yeah.
start of a conversation.
Hmm.
If you have a therapist and you resonated with something, do bring it up with them. I'm sure they would be more than happy to work on it.
Hmm.
Yeah, and also I felt very happy talking about it. It's like a reminder to my own self that I am a human, because sometimes
Exactly.
we need it. Everyone needs it, that hey, be cautious of these things that are happening in your life.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you for
Yeah.
joining me today, Thomas. I am very, very, very happy to have this conversation. Just summarizing this conversation, we started off by talking about all or none thinking, then we went into mood dependent behaviors. Third thing we spoke about was values versus goals and how can we align them for sustainable change. And the fourth one was comparison. I hope
Hmm.
you resonated with one or two or even all four of them. We
Yeah.
both, Thomas and I, would love to hear which one you resonated with, and if you want to drop a comment about that, or you want us to make more videos or on some particular theme, please go ahead. We would love to do that.
Yeah.
But before we say goodbye, Thomas, please tell the audience what services are you providing at this point, if any, and how can you
Hmm.
be approached?
Yeah, so currently I am kind of pretty much occupied with
Uh-huh.
my research work and my teaching. So my therapy practice is at very, very reduced capacity, almost nil right now. But I'm available at twiththomas@gmail.com, which I'll share. I think it will be available in the
Yes.
description, which basically stands for Therapy with Thomas. So yeah, thank you for having me. It has been a pleasure. Again, like you said, a reminder of things that I need to do also,
Yes.
and
Yes.
a reminder that I'm human.
Well, thank
Yeah,
you, Thomas. Have a good
thank
day.
you. You too. Bye bye.